Start the meeting. If you'll join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't go over the edge. I have to watch it.
We have a roll call, please.
Vaughn,
Here.
Kurtz,
Here.
Hayward,
Here.
Hill,
Here.
Scharf,
Here.
O'Laughlin,
Here.
Hannah.
Yes.
Thank you, Deb. Before I start or ask for the approval of the agenda, I wanted to make an introduction. We do have a new city attorney for Independence, and his name is Stephen Leidinger. Did I pronounce it right?
You did.
Okay, from Lynch, Dallas, and Cedar Rapids, so he's the one in the corner, in case you didn't know. Do you want to make an introduction of somebody, too?
Yeah, today we had a new staff member start in our office, the associate clerk position. Our deputy clerk, Katie Bidwell, has gone over to the police department to work in their office, so we've moved Susie Lampy into deputy clerk, and Amy Shear is here if she'd like to come up and introduce herself and share a little bit about her background.
Come join us. They don't bite.
I'm Amy Shear. I grew up here in Independence, and I went to school at Hawkeye and then UNI for my accounting degree, and I'm really excited to start working for the city.
Very good.
Very good.
Anybody have any
Welcome.
Questions for me?
Welcome aboard. Thanks a lot for coming tonight. Okay, then I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Hill,
I'll second.
second by Kurtz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Deb. I forgot I have to wait for you. Okay. There is no one that signed in for our public comment. So we'll move on to a motion to accept and approve the consent agenda that approves the following: the minutes of the December 11th, 2017 regular meeting and December 19, 2017 special meeting, city financial statements for the month of November, deputy city clerk job description, police administrative assistant job description, 2017 fire department run report, Casey's General Store 2169 Class E liquor license, Class B native wine permit, Class C beer permit, carry-out beer, and Sunday sales liquor license, January 30th, 2018 through January 29th, 2019.
So moved.
Motion from Kurt, seconded by
I'll second
by Denny. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
Aye.
Motion carried. Sorry, Deb, I'll get better. Next, I need a motion to approve the claims.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Kurtz, seconded by,
it. I'll second it.
second by Vaughn. Any comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you, Deb. The pose the same.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, next under petitions from the public is Officer Lau for his monthly report.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Good. Since the last time that we met, I guess I didn't come in December because we only had one meeting. It's been since November. Since then, we've had some snowfall. Probably within the last month here, we've had a press release go out just reminding people as far as the city code on making sure your sidewalks are cleared and snow removal and where you can and cannot put your snow and such. I'm actually still working on a couple of nuisance properties, even with the bitter cold and the snow that we kind of got pounded with. I've got a couple bad ones yet that were complaint-based, and they were actually ones that had been cleaned up. And then as the weather started we were getting into December, those properties got bad again within a month's time. So I kind of jumped right back on those, so that way they don't become a problem in the spring. So I'm still kind of working on those too. Other than that, I don't know if you guys have any questions, concerns.
I guess I just wanted, I think this is a good time There was some discussion on when people can put their cars back on the street, like when a snow emergency ends. I don't know if you could address that or Al.
Yeah, I mean, technically, when that snow emergency gets in place, it gets placed for, I believe it was 48 hours that you're supposed to keep it cleared. But realistically, once those streets have been completely cleared by the city's crew, then it's perfectly fine. We've had people call and say, I don't know what to do now, but my street's cleared. Well, yeah, if your street's completely cleared and it's clean, then you can go ahead and, it's not gonna create an issue.
Okay,
So,
all right,
once it's been fully cleaned, then yes.
okay.
I think it's important to understand the intent of the snow emergency. It is all streets and all city or public parking lots. It's not just a snow emergency route. And the purpose is to allow the city crew the opportunity to go through and clean it up once instead of going back multiple times. So your interpretation is right. Once the streets are cleaned, we've accomplished what we need to with the snow emergency. And we'll move on from there, as long as it stops snowing, If they come through and they clean the streets and we're halfway through the snow event, it will stay in place until the snow is done.
I had 4 or 5 calls from my area of town, people that wondered about the off-street parking. Some of them don't have any off-street parking. That's their only, so they were at a quandary as to what to do. And then also they wondered about the emergency snow routes. Once those are, do we still adhere to that program where those are?
We do not have an emergency snow route per se. As a matter of fact,
Okay.
most of those signs are, if not all of them, should be down. The emergency snow route had to do with, at one time, emergency vehicles
Right.
through the main routes. Our crew is getting out there and cleaning it up expeditiously. So really, we don't have a benefit to that snow route. We just go through and do the whole community.
Well, their question was, for example, on 4th Avenue and 7th Avenue, they were wondering if they could, they live on a side street on a street, and they wondered if they could park on the avenue once the avenue was cleared, if that was cleared first. Because otherwise, they have no choice. They don't have any off-street parking. So what they were looking for is to be as cooperative as they could, and once the avenues or streets, whichever were done first, were done, then move their car there to allow the front of their place to be done.
Well, and again, when the snow is cleared from the street after the event, then it's fine.
But I mean, their area had not been cleared yet. So what they were looking for is just to try to abide by the ordinance and.
Right, well, and again, the intent is to clear it. So if the street or the avenue is clear, I think enforcement at that point is not going to be the issue.
Right, and, if it's been clear, but if it's not, I know the risk they do is by getting that $10 parking ticket for snow removal. I speak from experience, growing up when I was a kid, we didn't have any off-street parking either, but when winter came, and I didn't live in Independence, but we actually cleared a spot in our yard, just so that way we could pull our car up and get it off of the road, at least until the plows went by. Or, if you have a neighbor or somebody that has a little bit bigger driveway, if you can talk to your neighbor about trying to get your vehicle off the street and, come up with some other kind of brainstorming ideas, make it a little bit easier on yourself, but otherwise, yeah, watch the streets. If the other one does get completely clear, then go ahead and move it. But like Al said, the risk is if it's not done snowing yet, they're gonna still be out there. And how often, they have to go by 2 or 3 times because we're still getting snow, so.
And the one on 7th, like they said, it's a rental unit. They proposed that too. They said, well, we could see if we can park in the yards. And then they called me back and they talked to the landlord and he said, under no circumstances are you gonna park in the,
Yeah. Well, that's
they're between a
unfortunate
rock
that
and a hard place.
Not willing to kind of work with them, I
Maybe
guess-
that's
I guess
something we need
in the middle
to
of winter when the
look
ground's
at, too.
frozen
Let
and,
me, let me ask you something, Mike. Do they have a terrace down, in other words, the sidewalk go through there?
Yes.
Okay, years ago, we gave them permission to park on that terrace, because that's city property,
The risk with parking on the terrace is the plow goes through,
too close.
well, you're going to have snow, that's where they put the snow or store the snow. You're going to get a car that's buried in there, or
Or
is it
damaged.
damaged when the
Yeah.
snow hits it? And
Well, we didn't
Not
have
accept-
that, but I see what you're saying though, Alan.
Right.
But
That would be-
they had to have a place to go, and we need to provide something for them.
Well, we do have, I can tell you there's at least one city employee who has that situation and makes arrangements for their vehicle at another property and walks the, I don't know what is it, 2 or 3 blocks for that event, understanding that, the snow emergency is there for that purpose. I'm not saying it's ideal,
Right.
but at this point, unless the ordinance has changed, that is the ordinance that we're abiding with.
And with that, it lets them get the streets clean faster, so we're not having that manpower hours constantly cleaning streets. If the streets can be cleared, they get it done so much faster.
And we have less complaints about damage to vehicles if there's a car in the street and the plow goes around it. Not that they have to hit it, but some of that snow will cause, damage to cars, and that creates another liability for us if we allow the cars to stay in the street. Not an ideal situation. I'm not saying that there's a perfect solution for you, but there's several reasons that have come up. Why do we have it in place? What is the intent? The intent is not to find a gotcha. It's a way to, be efficient with the taxpayer money for snow removal, as well as paying attention to our liability as we go through with those vehicles.
I know we've brought it up before and it's never been accepted, but we've got several large city parking lots, and I would think those will be last on the list of getting cleaned out. I still think at some point we should consider designating one of those city parking lots as an emergency parking area for people. If they've got room for one car in their driveway and somebody can come down and pick them up, I think that would help a great deal. Because right now they can't, and you have people living above stores downtown that park behind the stores, and then they lose their parking too. So I don't know. It's not a good situation, but I do think we've got enough city parking that we could look at designating one of those lots as a last clean out that people could put their cars there for.
I think that's something we'd need to work out with the street department, because they're the ones that are doing the cleaning of the streets, and they know what their system is as to where they start and whatever the case may be, so we can discuss it, but
And
not something we don't offer right at this point.
to put it into perspective, we average 2 or 3 snow emergencies a year.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge issue until we have that snowfall.
Right.
But it is not something that is a common occurrence either.
Brian, I thought all the streets and the sidewalks and the parking lots looked pretty good, but there is one exception. I see kitty corner across the block here will be on the corner of 2nd Street and 150.
Okay.
It's pretty obvious they haven't done anything to that yet.
No, and I've actually, with Casey's, you can't call corporate and just talk to somebody, I found out. You have to go through their automated system and leaving voicemails, and then you have to get the proper department, whether that be maintenance or whatnot. But I have called and left information with Casey's corporate
So you have
maintenance.
made an attempt
Yes.
to send somebody over with a
And
shovel.
so we'll see what kind of response that they get, if they get their crews to just keep taking care of it. If they don't, then Parks and Rec will go do it and
Right.
start getting added to it, so.
What do you do about the snowbirds that leave, and so there was nobody there at their home in the winter months?
I've actually, over the last few years, kind of got to know the snowbirds, and for the most part, they normally have certain people that they have take care of their property for them. I have run into risk where I didn't know who it was. I just happened to catch them out doing one sidewalk, but they weren't doing the other one. But most of your snowbirds, I kind of know the ones that leave, and I actually have their information in case I have to get a hold of them. If it's one that's a new one that hasn't called us or doesn't have arrangements, then yeah, I'd be putting a warning on the door. And if they have somebody that does take care of it, or at least comes and checks in the house, they would see it. But after 48 hours and that sidewalk still has not been cleared, then I would get a hold of Parks and Rec, and then they'd be billed $50 for that sidewalk being cleared.
What if the sidewalk goes to nowhere? To empty lots? I mean,
Well,
it's a dead-end sidewalk.
True. You use a little bit of discretion, but you also have to treat everybody equally and everybody fairly, because if one person has to shovel their sidewalk and they see their neighbor, even though that sidewalk doesn't go anywhere, by city code, they still have to have that cleared. So realistically, we have to be fair and impartial to everybody, just to keep it fair. But yes, there is a little bit of, common sense to it also, but we also don't want to create a conflict between neighbors either. So as long as you treat everybody fairly, I think that's the best policy.
And what's the fine if they don't clear their sidewalks?
Parks and Rec comes and does it, and then they bill them a minimum of $50 for each time.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Anything else you want to share?
No,
Covered?
that's it. I'll talk to you guys next month.
Okay.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Next on the agenda for petition is Ralph Kramer, the Senior Center funding.
Hold another tree, huh, Ralph?
That's right. Another tree.
Thanks, sir.
I'm still in denial yet. Someday I'm gonna learn how to run a computer. I already know, but I just can't live on it. I don't understand how people can do it and stuff.
So you don't have a Facebook, huh, or Twitter, or nothing, huh?
No, I don't tweet, and I got enough trouble just talking. And these new phone systems now, when you deal with your insurance company and stuff, you get to push the buttons and stuff, and you don't have a real person. But all these people are unemployed. We can't find anybody that can answer a telephone. And it's bad enough when you call down the VA and you get that kind of results once in a while and stuff. They're doing a lot better, but it's not good. Well, thank you for the opportunity to come to speak tonight. And what I'm speaking on behalf of the Buchanan County Council of Aging, and it's regard to Senior Citizen Center. We operate on volunteers, and my biggest problem is that, and I want to apologize to Bonnie, this heading on here, this is volunteer help, and they put dear sirs on there. I appreciate it. You should have had honorable mayor on there, but when volunteers don't always get the job done. So thank you for accepting my problems. Anyway, we went back and looked at some of the things we've done in the past just to show you. Like I said, basically we run with volunteers. The Hawkeye, or used to be the area agency on aging, now like everything else, it's gotten bigger because it's supposed to be better. And it really isn't bigger because what has happened now, we've got 18 counties in it instead of used to be about 11 in it. Now we've got 18 counties, and it's all over northeast Iowa and part of central Iowa that we're located with. And what has happened in the last year, as you know, state and federal government has decided that senior citizens are probably apparently too wealthy. We wasted your money on booze and women, and so now we don't have money to spend it on the senior citizens.
Hey, speak for yourself there, Ralph.
I've been left out.
Yeah. No, really, I mean, and you got to put a little humor and things like that there, And things are bad for some people, but we're really fortunate overall. Most of the people are going to be able to survive and keep warm, things like that. But I went back to November, and we just used some statistics from November and stuff. At the senior center here, we prepare about 1,492 meals for the resident, both home delivered and meal site. That's about 75 meals a day. And total of about 556 meals are served as congregate meals over the 20-day working period in November. And the average people at the meal site was 28 people. And a total of home delivered was 936. And in those 20 working days, about 56 separate homebound meals were delivered. And on the average, we delivered them to 42 people, but there was 56 people, so some places we had 2 people and things like that we delivered to. We have an average of about 35 a day that we deliver to Independence residents that are right here. We have some meals that go to, I think we got some volunteers, takes probably 3 or 4 down to Raleigh. Jessup right now, I think they're down to 1. Fairbanks probably got 1 or 2. Basically what those towns that only have 1 or 2, there's usually a resident from town will drive in and get the meal for them. I delivered Lamont here about a week or 10 days ago, and there's about 11 or 12 a day over at Lamont. And they have a congregate meal area in the city hall. They put up the table and chairs, and the people come in there and have their meals together. but there's also probably about 5 or 6 that we delivered to houses and stuff like that there. But it's really good to get people, and the biggest thing that I'm concerned about is that it isn't the meal, it's a socialization. Anybody that sits at home, watches TV, and doesn't socialize with anybody, it's going to get to in a short time. You know, people retire when they get to be 65 years old or 60, and some say, well, that's great, I don't have to work anymore. Well, if you aren't volunteering or doing something, you know, go out and help your neighbor shovel snow or something, you know, anything to get you out of the house and be with people and stuff like that. Right now, I would say if the Senior Citizen Center closes in Independence, within 6 weeks to 2 months, if we had 25 or 30 people are going to end up in a nursing home. And they just, socialization is very important and stuff like that. Going on further down to it, we have an average of about 11 volunteers that donate Meals on Wheels and stuff like that. And what we call Meals on Wheels, basically, we got people that come in and pick them up and walk around town and deliver them, and it's a good exercise. We have, we also deliver the meals for Owine. One of the things was that Owine has a smaller site than we do, and they don't require as many meals, so they decided it's cheaper to prepare the meals down here and take them to Owine, and then they take care of them at Owine and stuff. Bonnie Fuller is the site manager up here, and she works for Waterloo. Basically, she's the only paid employee that we got besides the 2 cooks, and the 2 cooks don't belong to us, they belong to Waterloo. But Bonnie has just got her job reassigned, and she has, I think, 4 different sites that she has to take care of besides Independence. So like one day she'll go to West Union, and then the next day she might go to Manchester, and then the next day she'll be somewhere else. And so we don't have a full-time person. It's just operate with volunteers and stuff like that. Right now, we are operating, the cost of senior centers costs for when we rent the site out. But there again, we're getting more and more people that it's hard to get volunteers anymore. We can get them in the 80s, but somewhere between 60 and 70, well, we lose them. I don't know why. Apparently, they're all working yet, stuff like that. You know, but it don't take a lot of time to come out and help us deliver meals and things like that. One of the things that's very important to us is that it's going to cost. It costs us basically. The supervisors own the building, and they don't charge us rent for it. Supervisors take care of the outside of the building, and the Council of Aging is responsible for the inside of the building. So we pay for the painting and the decorating and stuff like that that goes on the inside of the building. And the utilities are costing the Council of Aging right now at $1,100 a month average, and that includes electricity, gas, and water and garbage. During the past year, cities in Buchanan County that have helped us is Jessup, Fairbank, Hazelton, Lamont, Aurora, Winthrop, and Rowley. And so basically, that's what we're operating with. So I'll be glad to answer any questions you got. I don't want to hold you up all night to hear my stories or nothing. But, and I'd invite, we would like to have somebody from the council serve. Don Brown used to come, and he had left, and he's not on anymore. But we'd like to have somebody to come to our meetings, and then he can bring back, he or she can bring back the information for the council and stuff like that. And they would be part of the Council of Aging, and you vote. You know, some people say, well, if I can't vote, I don't want to come. Hey, anybody that comes can vote. I have no problem with voting and stuff like that.
When are your meetings?
But,
When are your meetings?
well, usually it's a second Thursday. Well, we bi-monthly, and it's a second Thursday. So this Thursday will be our meeting, and then in 2 months, we'll be having it again, usually at 9:30 in the morning.
9:30 at the senior center?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
How much do these other communities, I mean, you said it's $1,100 a month for utilities. Do the other communities donate enough to do utilities for a month, or?
No, basically, they've all got different amounts, and I don't have that figure with me. I'll get that figure for you and give it to you and stuff like that.
Okay, just
Yeah.
kind of wondered if there's a way to divvy up some of that cost with all
Yeah.
the communities in
Yeah,
town, the
right.
county.
And we get donations and things like that, and that's what we thrive on and stuff like that. And a lot of them are senior citizens that come in, and then they decided that they want to leave some money for us. And we also, you know, when somebody dies, we appreciate any help. We don't expect you to give a whole farm to us or anything like that, but anything helps. And a lot of times, when people pass away or something like that, and say their mother come up there for years, and it gives the family a sign of relief, you know, if mom's got a place to go every day or something like that, as well as dad. We also have a group that meets up there every morning, the Shysters, and I've been invited. Maybe I don't get up early enough, I don't know, but it's a good group, and we have men and women both come to this here in the morning, have coffee, and have discussions, and they kind of try to solve the world problems. But I don't know if we've accomplished that or not. Mary Kay might know.
Do you have any idea how much money you are losing from state or federal assistance that you're going to have to make up?
I don't have that figure because that came down through Waterloo. See, they've cut us on what we're getting and stuff like that there. And one of the things that we got caught on is also when our meals, we give people a choice. We'd have 2 different things that they could pick from every day, which is, you know, some people think that's necessary. What has happened is that we have some people that maybe they're too picky, I don't know. But then there's other people that have a special diet, and so if you've only got one thing to choose from, you may not be able to eat that day and stuff like that. So depending on what doctors care, and doctors limit on what you can eat, stuff like that.
I know my sister works in Muscadet, Wisconsin, and we talked about socialization, and somebody doesn't come in on a day, there are people there that call or stop by after lunch just to make sure they're okay too, you know.
And when we deliver meals, and usually if nobody answers the door or something like that, we always take the message back to the center, and they will try to contact. Usually what we ask them to do is have a member of the family leave their number so we can call them too, because, you know, a lot of times if it's a senior citizen, they don't remember if they got a doctor's appointment and they go off. Well, you know, usually when I deliver meals, I'll go back once or twice, and it takes a long time, you know, if you've got 20 meals to deliver and you go back to the place twice. But I think it's worthwhile, stuff like that. I mean, I enjoy doing it. I mean, when you walk in and see these people that are sitting there in their chair in front of the TV set or maybe sitting in bed, and you think, you know, how fortunate we are, you know, that not have to be able to do that stuff, you know. Maybe someday we will be, you know. And these people, a lot of them would rather talk than eat.
Some of them, that's the only contact they get for the day is the person bringing in that meal.
It is. It's very true. Yep.
Yep.
Mhm. Yep.
So it's a very worthwhile program.
You know, and they might have a dog or a cat or something like that there to entertain them, but it's got its limitations. Yep. So, any other questions? I'll get you how much the other towns have been giving and stuff like that. I apologize for not having it with me tonight.
Thank you.
All right?
Thanks, Ralph.
Thanks, Ralph.
Thank you very much, Ralph. Okay, next on the agenda is resolutions. First item is newspaper annual designation.
John, you're much faster than Steve.
Maybe today.
Would you like to introduce yourself and such?
Want to get recognized. John Klotzbach with the Independence Bulletin Journal at 900 Fifth Avenue Northeast. And we're one of the papers that are up for renewal of the official newspaper. Just want to make myself available as every other time to see if you have any questions or concerns. Hearing none, I'll be right over here if you need me.
Okay, thank you, John.
I too wish to be recognized.
Okay, Steve?
Sometimes it's hard to miss me. My wife and I run the news, also known as the Winthrop News historically, and we too serve as a legal newspaper for the community. We are located here in Independence at 121 First Street East. And we would like to continue to serve the community and our many readers and residents of the community with your notices and our stories to back them up.
How often does your newspaper come out? Once? You have two different,
We come out once a week. We have
Okay.
2 editions, the news and the guide.
okay, okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Anybody have any questions? Okay,
I do think both papers do a good job, and I do think they both serve somewhat of a different clientele. There's some overlap, but I do think both of them reach a lot more people.
I think they do a great job covering the city, and I think they really do.
It would require a motion to designate one or both.
I make a motion, we designate both.
I'll second it.
okay, I have a motion and a second to designate both papers for our official publications. Any other questions? A roll call, please.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes,
Scharf,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried. Next on the agenda for resolutions is the annual mileage rate designation. Need a motion to approve a resolution to set the yearly mileage reimbursement rate when a city employee utilizes the personal vehicles for city business. And the federal government went up a penny or a tenth of a penny or
A penny.
penny, so it's now 0.545. It was 0.535.
I'll make the motion.
Motion from Kurt, seconded by
I'll second.
Hayward. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
yes,
Scharf,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next resolution is in regards to our depository. A motion to approve a resolution designating the city's depository as Bank Iowa. Is what or do they need to mention that?
Yeah, I would do Bank Iowa, or what's currently happening is Bank Iowa is our main depository that has our checking account and our daily activity, and we do have investment CDs or money market accounts spread out through the other banks and credit unions within the city, so those are also listed to be able to hold some funds, but our main depository would be Bank Iowa, or is currently.
I would make the motion.
Motion
second
by
it.
Kurtz, second by O'Laughlin. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Hill,
yes,
Scharf,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next on the agenda is a sidewalk repair assessment. I need a motion to approve a resolution to assess property owners for Chapter 136 sidewalk regulations. We need this, require this in order for us to put the ones that did not pay for their sidewalk repairs onto their tax roll.
There was a question that I'll clarify. The fact that this is assessed to the property tax rolls, this is not an interest-bearing assessment because it is all due with this year's property taxes, which is different than the curb and gutter assessment that we did a year ago, which was to be paid over 10 years, and the council set the interest rate, and I think it was about 4% that we had set that one at. This one is one payment, so it is not the city carrying that debt for a number of years. So no interest rate, it's all due at one time, but it does give us the authority to send it to the county to have it placed on the tax rolls.
What was the total amount that we had to assess? You know what the total was?
No, I don't off the top of my head, John, I apologize.
I didn't run a calculator on it, but it was
It
pretty
was-
significant.
It was 20, in round numbers, about 26,000 private assessments that we did. Several of them were paid ahead, so. The number of people being assessed was smaller than I anticipated. But no, I apologize, I don't have that total number.
I'd make a motion to approve it.
Thank you. Motion by Kurt, seconded by,
I'll second it, but,
By Hill?
so we did have a number of people that have already paid for their sidewalk projects,
Yes, sir.
okay? I'll second it.
okay. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Sharf,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next on the agenda is a motion to approve a resolution to apply for DOT sign replacement program. We did this back in December, but the state has a new form, and so they want us to do it on the new form. So that's why it's being brought up to you again. This is for street department to be able to get funding for the signs that they have to have to put up in our streets and stuff.
I'll make a motion. I like 5,000 free dollars.
Okay?
I'll second it.
Motion by O'Laughlin, second by Kurtz. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharf.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next on the agenda is a fund transfer resolution. Motion to approve. This is because of state auditors. If you want to explain this?
Yes, we had a project at the airport, and some of the expenses and revenues got mixed between the airport project and the general fund. This is something we're looking to address when we get our project accounting installed this month to assist with some of the accounting from the past. But we need to just make sure that we are paying with the revenues received for this project rather than using the general fund. So we are reimbursing the general fund back.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Hill,
I'll second it.
seconded by Kurtz. Any other questions, discussion?
I will, just so the council's aware, this did go through the Government Performance Finance Committee back in December. We did not have our committee of the whole, that's why it's coming in front of you, but that was discussed, and the state auditors have provided the guidance that's in front of you. So,
Okay, roll call, please.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharf,
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next, under new business, I have a motion to adopt goals established at the 2018 strategic planning session.
this is a summary of the goals that we came up with at the strategic planning session in December. I did paraphrase them to put them into a context that was easier for us to follow. But really, this is the summary of what we put in front of you at the budget work session last week, but I thought it was appropriate for the council to adopt them officially.
Will we be getting a final report from Richard? And
Yes.
okay. I'll make the motion.
Motion by Hill, seconded by
I'll second.
Hayward. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharf,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next, under new business, is city meeting schedule for 2018.
There's two schedules in front of you. One, this is a little different this year than what we've done in the past. This really formalizes the city council meetings with the committee of the whole, meetings for the month, or I mean for the year by month. You can deviate from it. It's not any different than what we're doing. But it also has a committee schedule. There was some discussion about our committees and when are we meeting, and we've done a better job this past year of meeting on a regular schedule, and this just formalizes that as well. The one question came up with the Public Safety Committee meeting for council members O'Laughlin, Vaughn, and Hill. Wednesdays at 3:30 are difficult for Chief Dallenbach, and he asked if it could be moved to the second Monday at 3:30. I don't know. you have any issues with that?
As long as it's 3:30, that's when I get off.
Right, and I explained that to Chief, and I think we can work through that.
Yeah, any of those, any
Aren't
day
you
is
gonna
fine.
have to have time to get here?
I'll split hairs and get here, as long as Dustin's in here and I'm driving.
Yeah, well, he's got
see.
friends.
Do we want to try 4 o'clock?
The only challenge with 4 o'clock on the second Monday is we have a council meeting that day. We do have public safety, which is only police and fire now, so I think that, you know, within reason, we're not going to start without Mr. Law.
I can make arrangements to be here.
But if it's okay with you folks, I think the meetings will be short enough, we can get through them without racing.
So we're gonna have one now?
The second Monday of the month at 3:30. Public Works is currently the first Monday at 2 PM. And Government Performance Finance Committee would be the first Monday at 10 AM.
So we're gonna start off this month with the,
No, this was scheduled to start in February. The reason that we were starting in February is because we have you meeting every week this month, and I thought that was a little bit of
so we're not
overkill.
gonna have the safety meeting this month?
Correct, that would have been today.
We didn't make it, did we?
We
We didn't schedule it.
we missed that one.
Needed to approve it first.
So if the council feels any of the committees need to meet, that's fine. We're not trying to avoid that. We are putting enough burden on you with our.
Actually, I
budget.
thought it was the 15th it was gonna be.
Well, that would be the third Monday. This is the second Monday.
Wasn't originally.
Oh, yes,
scheduled on the
yes, it would have been
15th.
normally on the 15th, correct.
But there's new committee members, and so that's why there's new committee.
Yeah, I know why.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of weeks ago, it was scheduled for the 15th. I'm gonna have to call some people, and reschedule that.
I think the schedule looks fine.
You got a motion on it?
The one thing I thought John had a good suggestion is on the city website, you know, we have the calendar. And if I understood the reply to John, we do have the capability if somebody goes on the website to the calendar and sees we have a meeting, that they can call up the agenda from that site. See what I'm saying? That, okay, if we're having a city council meeting here on the 22nd, that, I know that'll be different, but can they go, if they call it up and see there's a city council meeting on the 22nd, can we hook the system in that they, right next to the 22nd, they could call up the agenda? Now, again, that's not going to be there till Friday, but I guess if we can do that, sometimes it's a little hard to scroll through. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yes, I do understand the request.
I don't know if the system can do it.
I want to find out before I make that
Okay.
commitment. I'm not sure
Okay.
if we have to put a picture of the agenda or if it's the actual agenda with all of the attachments. That might be a little bit different doings, but we'll take a look at what we can tie in there.
Kind of
'Cause
like
it
we
won't be
see in
available
our,
for
Right.
20, till 24 hours before it has to be posted,
Yeah.
so.
yeah,
it wouldn't be
whenever, you know,
available till
everybody
that
knows
point,
it's got
yeah.
to be there 24 hours.
It would be good on the calendar page if we could maybe print the schedule of meetings. I think that would really help the public out if they did have an interest that they wanted to.
Right, and that's part of going through this. It becomes our official list. We put an announcement out. If something changes on that, that's fine. We put an announcement out, we move it, but it takes an affirmative action to change that then.
No, I think it looks great.
So I think people are getting used to, I mean, you read something anymore and they even highlight 2 words and all you got to do is click those 2 words
Yeah,
and
right.
it'll take you.
It links you.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that would be helpful if, that's what I was looking for, a link.
Yeah.
I still need a motion and a second to even approve this agenda, or this.
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Kurt, seconded by
I'll second it.
Vaughn. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
I have to abstain. I
O'Loughlin.
don't have the list.
Yes.
You have to abstain for White.
I don't have the list. I can't prove something I don't have.
You didn't
No.
we send this out? Do we not have your email because it went out?
Not to my regular email, and I don't have a tablet, so I don't get nothing. I'm trying to go through some of these things I've already been through with the paper and stuff like that, I understand. But I need a tablet, I need information.
We still didn't get that tablet back yet?
I thought that was taken care of, but I'll take care of that tomorrow, Carl.
Because I'm out of the water without it. I'm trying to go, I've been here before, so some of these things I know, but I can't okay something I don't have in front of me, people, you know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You want me to vote? Oh,
I already did O'Laughlin, I'll do Vaughn, or Hannah, sorry.
Yes.
Vaughn,
yes.
Everybody?
yes.
Okay, motion's carried. Next on the agenda is First Street East Malone Creek Bridge Engineering RFP. I would need a motion to approve an RFP process for engineering services on First Street East and Malone Creek Bridge Replacement Project as recommended by the Public Works Committee.
So moved.
Motion by O'Laughlin, seconded by
I'll second it.
Kurtz. Need a roll call on this?
Yes. Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Abstain? No.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. Next on the agenda is Second Street Northeast Engineering Contract. Motion to approve engineering services contract with Crawford Engineering for Second Street Northeast project.
So moved.
Motion by O'Laughlin.
I'll second.
Seconded by Kurtz?
Second.
Okay, sorry. Any other discussion?
I think maybe it'd be good if maybe Al explained why we're doing this project separate from some of the other streets.
Yes, this is about a block and a half stretch of Seal Coat Street. It is part of the proposed detour for First Street and Malone Creek Bridge when those are reconstructed in 2019. So the intent is to take care of stormwater, curb, gutter, and pavement, concrete pavement for the street in advance of that detour. This does need to be done, or is proposed to be done now in 2018 in advance of that detour. The detour, by the way, is not a short-term detour. The bridge project is anticipated to take 3 to 4 months, so it's an extended detour. Not that it will carry semi-tractor trailer traffic, because that would have to take a different detour. The corners are not sufficient to handle semi-tractor trailers. But even the, we'll call it the residential traffic that will come through there that would normally be on First Street is significantly heavier than what that street currently is carrying. So that's why it's proposed to be done now.
Thank you.
Crawford's engineering people are here if anybody has any questions. We've covered this before.
What's going to be the detour for the heavier trucks, with all the concrete plants being out that east side of town?
I don't have I mean, there's two logical options for you, going north on Naaman, Bethel Road up to
County Home Road?
County Home Road, thank you. I was thinking of the number, but, and then picking up on Highway 150. The other option is actually at Winthrop, south to Highway 20, and then coming back into town. We're working with the county on which road makes the most sense, because if I use a county road, I'd just as soon have their blessing before we firm it up. But those are the two options that we have. And the county engineer and I have talked about it. He's looking at it. There might be some other options in there, but again, those are the two most logical at this point.
So if we're not putting traffic on there, Al, how come we're doing Second Street period this year?
Again, it's a seal coat street. The concern is the condition of the street with that much traffic over the course of the summer.
We're also having stormwater problems down there.
We have stormwater issues that have to be addressed. We are taking a look at all of the utilities, obviously, like we've talked about with any of our street projects. But we did 11th Avenue Northeast, again, 2 years ago in advance of this, looking at how do we get our traffic through there.
stormwater issues going on there?
There is currently no curb and gutter. It is just a rural section of seal coat. And so we have, basically, there is no stormwater system. It's just whenever the water runs off the street,
Isn't there a
it's
ditch there though now? On both sides, that's,
Small one.
of sorts.
But it is flooding homeowners' properties,
that's what?
flooding homeowners' properties,
Oh,
with heavy rains.
okay.
It is affecting homeowners' properties?
Yes.
Yes, that's what he said. Did you have any questions on this, Carl, or? did
No,
you have
this I got some information on.
Okay, okay. Just want to make sure.
No, thank you.
We have motion and.
I have a motion and a second, yes.
You do have? Okay, then I need a roll call, please.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes,
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward.
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried. Next on the agenda is a motion to approve the contract for services of Fox Engineering for services associated with the wastewater treatment plant rehabilitation project.
This is the agreement with Fox for the sizable project that we talked about in the CIP meeting last week. This is actually taking it not only from the design phase or the review phase, but all the way through bidding documents for the work. This does not include construction services or construction management. The type of project we have, our guys are going to be able to take care of most of the construction management.
Is this over 2 years, since it's 2 projects to be bid, or is this over 1 year?
Well, that's to be determined. What we're looking at is they did break it into 2 sections if we wanted to split it up.
Right.
Their recommendation is to do it as one project.
I remember that from the.
Right. But again, not to try and second guess the council or where you might want to go, they did break it into 2 projects where it made the most sense if we were going to split it up. The biggest question mark here still remains the almost $1 million for the pipe pit, and whether or not that's the best solution, and Mark is still working with them to find out if there is a more cost-effective way to do that or a more efficient way to manage that part of the system. Don't have an answer for you, but that's almost half of the total proposed cost in that CIP piece.
Didn't they feel that that was the most reasonable one, considering that we will eventually have to build a new? I thought she said that that was the.
Well, now, this is separate from the sediment channels.
Right, right.
Okay, I mean, this is inside the building in the
Yeah.
pit. Whether or not we have to replace the pipes, and that's bringing somebody in to actually test the thickness of the pipes that are in the pit. If they're structurally sound, maybe it stays the way it is, and that could affect the cost as well. But at this point, our estimate is based on replacing all of the pipes, all of the valves. And Mark is talking about, maybe we can turn that into call it a catch basin. Instead of putting the pipes in there, it's just a pit that carries the water through there and funnels it through there, not using the piping as we know it today.
Right.
They haven't ruled on whether or not that's feasible or not. It's just an idea that's out there that could.
See, I thought that one of the pits that they were going to design was going to take that off.
Maybe. And again, that's part of that design phase that they're going through. And Mark Kramer, the engineer, wasn't willing to commit to that.
No, he had
when we last
discussed
met.
DNR with.
Right.
Is this separate, aren't they supposed to be getting us a report on their findings out there? I mean, I think somewhere in the back of my mind, we've been waiting for something from them. I think we talked at the Public Works or something. They were supposed to be getting us some kind of a finalized report on their assessment of the sewer plant.
This is the condition of the plant, the repairs. This is the culmination of that study.
And they had to confer with DNR to make sure that everything that they put into this fit with what the needs of the DNR laws and stuff was.
So,
Right. Where we get confused on this, and I apologize, the future of the plant is still up in the air. And that's the part that the council earlier, middle of last year, gave them direction to go to that $3 million solution, but we weren't going to start that until 2022, 2023, after we do our next permit. And we have to go through the permitting process. Again, in 2020, I think it's a 5-year permit. So that's coming, and we were kind of pushing off the big expense until after that happens and seeing what might change in the regulations. Understand that the bottom line is, what we're doing here is looking at a 10-year patch, because it's estimated in 10 years, we're looking at the possibility of a new plant. All of that is predicated, Bob, on that study, or that permit that comes out in 2020 to be released in 2022, and then that start of that next process for, and I'm losing my words here, I apologize, but the trench system that they had proposed, that's, again, looking at how do we add life to the plant.
Yeah.
It wasn't a trench system geared more toward the nitrate problem?
Thank you, yes.
Yep.
So we're talking the current physical structure and the equipment in the structure with what we're talking about right now.
All of this is focused on the valves, the pipes, the manhole hatches, on the digesters in particular, but all of the access points, the
Tank
hardware
covers.
that's, exactly, the hardware that is corroded over the years. So this is simply a maintenance project. I know it's a very large maintenance project, or very expensive, but really this is about designing that maintenance and going through the plant, looking at what we have to do. And it's a combination of,
There's a lot of
I wanna say-
safety issues here too.
Right.
For the plant.
this started 3 years ago when we said, walk through the plant from start to finish and tell us everything that has to be done, and this is really starting to get to that culmination. In the CIP last week, we talked about, we spread everything out over a number of years. Well, this kind of brings it all back in, or most of it back into 1 or possibly 2 years' worth of project.
Well, you know, when we toured out there, Mark Luloff talked about one of the valves are freezing
Yeah.
shut because of corrosion, and they got sprayed by effluent when one of the valves broke as they tried to free it to shut it down. So, I mean, that in itself,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
talking safeties.
I would make a motion.
Thank you. Motion by Kurtz,
I'll second.
second by O'Laughlin. Any other discussion? And I need a roll call, please.
Scharf,
I was there, yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. We're down to reports. Not sure which side we stopped last year, so I guess I'll let you start, Mike O'Laughlin.
Let's have somebody in the council win the Iowa lottery and fund this stuff.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. We have many projects ahead of us.
Anything else?
There's nothing else.
Okay. Carl, do you have anything for tonight?
Well, first of all, I want to thank all the voters in the Fifth Ward for giving me an opportunity to serve them on the city council. I've been here before, no stranger to city government. I want to go back and further a little bit, and I'm not here campaigning for anybody, for any particular thing. Just read me out, please. I would like to comment on the controversy there was at the last meeting in December concerning the light board. It was mentioned in one of the newspapers that research was done concerning the board. Well, when research is done, I take this as somebody's doing their homework, looking at things that are good and things that aren't bad. And I also heard the word protocol being tossed around. I must ask, where was that protocol when I was mayor and was making changes in the board members? At the time I did my research, I did it very well. I was lied to by some of the board members and management. I commented on how high our rates were, especially for a city that owned its own utility company. I was told that the way it is the way it is, and it'll be going higher in the near future. I was told there was no way in the devil's land possible that the rates could ever be lowered, and I should be happy with where they're at. I took like the numbers and we looked, and I seen frivolous spending, I seen bleeding the system. These are taxpayers' money. I took at the numbers, and there was many of these things happening. Another thing, I didn't have anything against anybody on the board or management personally, but the taxpayers' money needed to be accounted for. I did my homework on candidates who wanted to be on the board or those I approached. In fact, Benita, you were one that requested I give all council members a written summary of the candidates, so I did. I told of their occupation, family members, community participation, contact information, and many other things they want to disclose about themselves, to everyone have an insight on the candidate. Please note I did these weeks in advance. The subject got so hot when Mr. Leon Bachman's name was brought up, a person would have thought the end of the world was near. During this time, before the night when I nominated him for a position, I received a letter that to me was a threat to the city. I faxed the letter to the city attorney, Carter Stevens. He told me, yes, indeed, this could be considered a threat. As too many things are taken so lightly, I instructed me to give a copy to the law enforcement officials. I did. Since placing Mr. Bachman on the light board, I just want to go over a few things, and there's a lot of them. If you do your homework, you'll find them. That happened. Guess what? We did get those rates lowered for both residential and commercial. The substation out here, we nearly paid $2 million for, that I was told that never could be hooked up. It would take $1 million to do so, to get it connected. It got connected. Guess what? How much it cost us? Nothing. The new substation we have, which is the same as Macokota up here, cost us around $900,000. Them over $2 million, Macokota, and the list goes on. Independence Light Board is running more efficient than it has for many years with board members that were current until the end of December. They're not perfect. I don't mean it that way. They were doing a good job. They were looking for the cookie jar, making sure the hands were out of there. Benita, I want to request to you, you did the same information as I did for you, all the council members. A couple weeks in advance, contact information so we can talk to these people, ask them questions. The main thing I've always asked somebody on any board is, why do you want to be on the board? I don't care if they have college education. That's about, no. Why do you want to be there, and what difference can you make? Or members of all boards are extremely important, and as a city council, we are ultimately responsible for that wise choice that are made for the now and the future. Recently, Bob, Mike, and I attended a City League class in Cedar Rapids. I enjoyed the class as it was for newly elected officials as well as previously elected. It was a great class. Subjects covered were budget, open meetings law, city council and mayor duties, and many other things. It was a great meeting. 2 words that stood out before we left that meeting: the respect we all have for the council, within the council, and Bob, remember this one, depersonalized. Thank you. That's it.
Okay. Bob?
I don't have anything.
Mike Hayward?
I don't have anything.
Okay. John Kurtz?
I just wanted to thank the city street crews for doing a great job on the streets. I think having the snow emergency was an inconvenience for some people, but it really did help get the streets cleared quickly, and that's what it's all about, I think. So thank you guys for helping us out. That's it.
Danny?
I don't have anything tonight.
Deb, do you have anything you want to do for reports?
I'd just like to welcome Carl and Mike to the board, the council, and congratulations to Amy Shear for doing the job in the clerk's office.
Thank you, Deb.
That's it.
What's your temperature down there now?
Yeah, around 70.
Thank you. Does our new city attorney have anything they would like to share tonight?
No, just thanks for the opportunity to work with you all, and I look forward to handling your issues as you come up and getting to know each of you.
Gina?
Right now, we're basically mostly focusing on the budget and getting all of that prepared as far as the state forms and getting all of the information we've gotten from department heads placed into our financial software. We're getting ready to do our install on project accounting this month to help hopefully solve some of those accounting issues with those projects and the tracking of them to keep it all in one place. And keep the history clean. We are still catching up a little bit from being a little bit short-staffed the last few months, so we're trying to get everything out there as fast as we can.
Is there anything from the police department that they would like tonight? No? Al, you have anything?
Just a reminder that next Monday evening at 6:30, we have our next budget work session. So we'll see you next week.
When?
Monday,
15?
What time?
6:30.
6:30, 15.
Is there a schedule of this? I didn't know anything about that.
This is in our budget schedule. We are, first Wednesday we met because of the holiday on the 1st. After that, it's either a council meeting or a workshop, as many nights as you feel like you need them to go through the budget. I don't think it's going to take that many, but we've been through the CIP. Monday night is on the operating budget, and we'll see how much work we need after that.
Okay.
And we hope to have those out by the end of the week to you, so you have a chance to take a look at it. We'll try and consolidate it as much as we can on the line items.
Okay, the only thing I have is that next, I do have all the evaluations turned in now for Al's evaluation, so I've asked Bob Hill if he would lead a committee in order to go through those and make the report, and asked for Mike Hayward and Carl to be on that committee, so you guys can set up your own time when the three of you can get together and do that. Go through them. I will turn them over to Bob tonight, and then you can go from there. All right? Okay.
Do you want those done so we can go over it?
On the 22nd.
22nd?
By the letter that's on that evaluation
Okay.
form, it says we're supposed to do it the second Monday of the month, so, or that we have in January, so I'll give those to you tonight before you leave. So if nobody else has anything else, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
You got it.
Second?
Second, okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
You're not following protocol. It's always one side and the other, remember? For 100 years.
Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. We'll see you in 2 weeks.